Welcome to Smart English Stories. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more English stories. Hello, everyone. Today, I want to talk about something very close to my heart: learning English. Learning English can be fun and easy. It is not something you need to fear. When I was a child, I did not know English. I only knew my mother tongue. But I was curious. I wanted to understand the songs on the radio. I wanted to read the signs in the streets. So, I began to learn. At first, it was hard. I could not understand the words. They looked strange to me. But I did not give up. I started small. I learned one word every day, just one. And with each new word, I felt a little more confident. I remember the first English word I learned. It was apple. I saw it in a book. I repeated it again and again. Apple, apple, apple. I even dreamt about it. Soon I learned another word, orange, and then another. Banana. I realized that I could now talk about fruits. I could say, I want an apple, or I like oranges. It made me happy. I was learning, and it was not so hard after all. One day, I tried to make a full sentence. I said, I want an apple. It was a small sentence, but it felt big to me. It felt like I had climbed a mountain. That was when I realized something important. English is like a puzzle. You just need to find the right pieces and put them together. Once you do, you see the whole picture. I kept learning, one word at a time, one sentence at a time. I listened to songs and tried to understand the lyrics. I watched movies with subtitles. I read simple books. And every day, I learned something new. I learned that English is not just a language. It is a way to connect with the world. I remember a day when I was in a park. I saw a tourist who looked lost. She was holding a map and looking around. I wanted to help her, but I was scared. What if she did not understand me? But then, I remembered the words I had learned. I walked up to her and said, Can I help you? She smiled and said, Yes, please. That small moment gave me so much joy. I had used English to help someone. It felt amazing. Learning English can open doors for you. It can take you to places you have never been. It can help you make friends with people from different countries. It can give you confidence. But the most important thing is to start. Start small, but start. Do not wait for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is now. When I was learning English, I had a friend who was also learning. We made a pact. We decided that every day we would learn one new word and share it with each other. It was fun. Sometimes we would even compete to see who could find the most interesting word. We would laugh and learn together. That is another tip I want to share with you. Find a friend who is also learning English. Learn together. Teach each other. It makes the journey easier and more fun. Another thing I did was to carry a small notebook with me. Whenever I heard a new word, I would write it down. Then, I would look it up later and learn its meaning. I still have that notebook. It is filled with words that once felt strange to me, but now feel like old friends. There was a time when I was afraid to speak English. I was scared of making mistakes. I thought people would laugh at me. But then I realized something important. Making mistakes is a part of learning. Every time you make a mistake, you learn something new. Do not be afraid to speak. Do not be afraid to make mistakes. They are your stepping stones to success. I remember once I was in a store. I wanted to buy a book, but I did not know how to ask for it in English. I could have stayed silent. I could have walked away. But instead, I decided to try. I said, "I want a book." The shopkeeper understood me. He handed me the book, and I felt proud. I had used English to get what I wanted. It was a small victory, but it meant a lot to me. Learning English is like planting a tree. You start with a small seed. You water it every day. You take care of it. And slowly it grows. One day it will give you shade. One day it will give you fruit. But you need to be patient. You need to keep watering it, even when you do not see any growth. Because one day it will grow, and it will be beautiful. When I was learning English, I loved to listen to English songs. I would listen to them over and over again, trying to understand the words. Sometimes I would write down the lyrics and sing along. It helped me a lot. Music is a great way to learn a language. It makes the words stick in your mind. I also love to watch English movies. At first, I did not understand much, but I kept watching. I used subtitles to help me. Slowly, I started to understand more and more. Movies are a great way to see how English is used in real life. They show you how people talk, how they express themselves, and they make learning fun. Another thing that helped me was reading. I started with simple books. Books with pictures and easy words. I would read a little bit every day. Sometimes I would not understand a word, but I would not give up. I would look it up, learn its meaning, and then continue reading. Reading is like taking a journey. Every book is a new adventure, and with each adventure, your English gets better. I remember the first English book one finished. It was a small book with big pictures and simple words. But finishing it felt like a big achievement. I had read a whole book in English. It made me believe in myself. It made me believe that I could learn English. Learning English is like climbing a mountain. The higher you go, the more you see. The more you see, the more you understand. But you need to keep climbing. You need to keep moving forward, even when it gets hard. Because when you reach the top, The view is beautiful. One day, I was at a bus stop. I saw a group of people speaking English. I could not understand everything they were saying, but I caught a few words. They were talking about a party. I smiled to myself. A few months ago, I would not have understood anything. But now, I could understand bits and pieces. It made me realize how far I had come. It made me realize that learning English is a journey. It is not about how fast you go. It is about how far you have come. Another memory I have is from school. We had an English teacher who was very kind. She would always encourage us to speak English, even if we made mistakes. She would say, "Do not worry about mistakes. They are your best teachers." Her words stayed with me. They gave me the courage to speak, to try, and to learn. One of the best tips I can give you is to practice every day. Even if it is just for a few minutes, practice. Speak to yourself in English. Think in English. Write in English. The more you practice, the better you will get. It is like playing a sport. The more you play, the better you become. I remember practicing English with my family. We would have little conversations in English at the dinner table. Sometimes we would play games like name the object or guess the word. It was fun, and it helped us all learn. Learning together made it easier. It made it more enjoyable. Another tip is to be curious. Whenever you see a new word, try to learn its meaning. Whenever you hear a new phrase, try to understand it. Curiosity is your best friend when learning a language. It keeps you moving forward. It keeps you engaged. When I was learning English, I was always curious. I wanted to know what every word meant. I wanted to understand every sentence I heard. That curiosity drove me to learn more and more. And the more I learned, the more I wanted to learn. It became a cycle of curiosity and learning. English is a key that can open many doors for you. It can give you access to new knowledge, new opportunities, new friends. But you need to work for it. You need to put in the effort. And I promise you, it will be worth it. One day I was walking in a park and I saw a sign. It was in English. A few months ago I would have ignored it, but this time I stopped and read it. It said, "Please keep the park clean." It was a simple message, but it made me smile. I understood it. I had learned enough English to understand it. That small moment made all my efforts feel worthwhile. Another time, I was in a store, and I heard someone speaking English on the phone. I listened closely. I could understand most of what they were saying. They were talking about a trip they were planning. I felt proud. I had learned enough English to understand a conversation. It was a small victory, but it meant a lot to me. Learning English is not just about understanding words. It is about understanding people, their culture, their way of thinking. It is about connecting with the world. And the more you learn, the more you connect. I remember a day when I was watching a movie. It was in English. At first, I needed subtitles to understand it. But as the movie went on, I found myself relying on the subtitles less and less. I could understand the dialogues on my own. It felt like a big step forward. It felt like I was finally becoming fluent. Another memory I have is from a classroom. We were asked to give a presentation in English. I was nervous. I had never spoken in front of so many people before. But I decided to give it a try. I stood up and spoke. I made a few mistakes, but I kept going. When I finished, my classmates clapped. It was a moment of pride for me. I had spoken English in front of an audience. It was not perfect, but it was a start. One day, I was reading a book in English. It was a simple book, but it had a beautiful story. As I read, I found myself getting lost in the story. I was no longer just reading words. I was living the story. That was when I realized that learning English is not just about understanding words. It is about understanding the world those words create. Another tip I want to share with you is to be patient. Learning a language takes time. You will not become fluent overnight. But if you keep at it, if you keep learning a little bit every day, you will get there. It is like building a house. You need to lay each brick carefully. And with each brick, your house gets stronger. I remember a time when I was trying to learn a new word. It was a long word, and I could not pronounce it correctly. I tried and tried, but I kept getting it wrong. I was frustrated. But then I took a deep breath and tried again. This time I got it right. It felt like I had won a small battle. That is what learning English is like. It is a series of small battles that you win, one by one. Another memory I have is from a trip I took. I was in a country where English was the main language. At first, I was nervous. What if I could not understand people? What if they could not understand me? But then, I remembered all the words I had learned, all the sentences I had practiced. I decided to give it a try. I spoke to the people there, and they understood me. It was a moment of triumph. I had used English to communicate in a foreign land. It made me feel proud. As you continue on your journey to learn English, remember this: every word you learn is a new step toward understanding the world a little better. Each sentence you speak is a bridge to new connections, new friendships, and new experiences. Do not rush the process, savor each moment of learning, for it is not just about mastering a language, but about growing as a person. And now, I leave you with a beautiful thought: language is the light of the mind. Every new word you learn is a spark that brightens your world. What is one English word that has changed your perspective or brought light into your life? I would love to hear your thoughts.